Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, Jazz inches his way closer to coming back to the Yankees, begins his rehab assignment in Double-A, so we'll take a look at Jazz there. And with that in mind, actually, we'll look at also focus on Peraza, who has been getting the playing time with, just through the situation with Oswaldo Cabrera out, and of course with Jazz out there, but still struggling at the plate, and you got to see how long really, they're going to have left with him. Again, he really is out of options there, so it's going to be a situation where I'm not sure how long he's going to be with this team. Again, with the poor batting average, all that, which we'll get into. And plus, will be the big matchup this weekend against the mighty Dodgers. So, Yankees-Dodgers lock it up again for the first time since the World Series, and obviously, there's nothing you can do to ever get revenge for that, but obviously, all eyes going to be in L.A., the big stars and all that, Judge, Ohtani, and I'm sure the Dodger Stadium will be loaded with celebrities. So, a little Peraza, a little Jazz, and a little Yankees-Dodgers. So, got that set up for you, but before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the podcast here, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And there's also the YouTube version of the show, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Dropped the latest episode the other day and kind of covered Jazz a little bit, but didn't really get into an actual timetable of when his rehab would begin. So, it looks like it has begun there, so it's almost a continuation of that. But make sure you want to check out the YouTube episode as well. Subscribe and get notified when new episodes go up. So, again, Jazz starting Thursday evening, beginning his rehab assignment with Double-A Somerset. Went 2 for 3 with a double, which you like to see there, and also you would like to see as a walk. Taking his walks there as well, because when he does come back, he's gonna have to do something with that batting average, which I've been harping on, for the early part of the season. Not only him, but people like Volpe and Bellinger. And it looks like Volpe and Bellinger at least have cleaned up their act a little bit. Jazz still well under 200, which you can't be a major league player and hitting under 200 like that. Don't have to hit like 380, 390. We know that's not part of Jazz's game, but you can't be at like 181 or something like that. This is insane. So no exactly time when he's going to come back, but interesting part about Jazz is that he's playing third base now in Double-A, and according to Boone, the plan is, and I covered this in the most recent YouTube episode, the plan for him is more likely they're going to lean towards him being the third baseman when everyone's back and healthy. And of course, DJ right now at second base. I'm not saying he looked like the old DJ, but at least a much better version of himself than we've seen the last couple of years out of DJ. So his body moving a little bit, hitting a little better, but again, still not really, tearing the cover off the ball and not being like the old DJ, but at least competent. Let's just put it that way. DJ looking more competent. But the whole argument is, well, when Jazz comes back, Jazz kind of started the season at second base. What do? You would seem the logical move is to move DJ over to the less demanding, less taxing third base there at the hot corner. But for whatever reason, hook or crook, it looks like Boone is set on having this DJ remain as the second baseman, and when Jazz comes back, play third base, and the plan for him while Jazz is rehabbing in the minors is to get a lot of time at third base, a lot of reps there. So Jazz kind of going back to what he did last year with the Yankees when he came on board, and Gleyber refused to play third base, is playing third base, and give Jazz credit. He's saying all the right things. He's saying, hey, look, I'm not going to fight over a position, whatever's best for the team. So I guess that part of Jazz you'd like to see, not being difficult like Stroman. They're saying, I refuse to go to the bullpen. I'm starting pitcher, and same thing. I'm a second baseman. I'm going nowhere else. Jazz made it pretty clear that he is a second baseman. He likes playing second baseman. He prefer to play second base, but if need be, he will go to third. So that looks like that's going to be the case, at least to start things off once he does return to the team, and we'll see how that goes. But Boone also said in mind that he called it a quote-unquote fluid situation. So, it could be very well that Jazz plays a little third base, and then if the floor really completely falls out from under DJ LeMayo, just defensively and offensively, he's just an automatic out again. Maybe you do see a situation where he does go back to second base, and then the Yankees look for some other options at third base. And it kind of covered this in the most recent YouTube episode, Bob Nightingale from USA Today, with a report that came out May 25th that Cashman's aggressively pursuing not only a starting pitcher, which you could kind of understand why that, but also a right-handed slugger, preferably a third baseman. And I kind of went through a list of possibilities for the Yankees. You might go after to bring in. And of course, what it all comes down to is the typical, usual, obvious choice of Nolan Arenado. Just for the fact you look at some of the other third basemen around the league who, might be a better option, but through the youth and number of arbitration years they got left, those teams are going to want a boatload to get him. Whereas Arenado is a veteran, he's making a lot of money, and the Cardinals will be more than willing to let him go. Not for cheap, obviously. A third baseman is quite valuable, at least of his caliber, but still, and even though he's a little bit getting a little longer in the tooth, they're not going to demand as much, just the fact because he makes a lot of money there, that they'll be more than happy to unload him. So the Yankees won't have to give him much to get Arenado compared to some other options around there. But let's just see. Cashman's kind of crafty. draft. He usually has an eye on someone you're not expecting, someone like Jazz, and then boom, makes a deal there and then brings him in. So let's see what Cashman has up his sleeve. But again, circling back to mention at the top there, Peraza, who's getting the benefit of this playing time. But and I know he had the home run there in the Angels series. He had that really good play at third base, and he's a guy that has some good defensive gems here and there. But overall, you look at his situation, batting only 160, which is just atrocious. And if you look at May, maybe figure, all right, well, early on his playing time was choppy, and in May he got a more consistent playing time just through the fact that Cabrera broke the ankle, and Jazz has been out with the oblique injury. I mean, it has benefited Peraza getting a lot more playing time, but he really hasn't taken the bull by the horns. And in May, batting a putrid 128. So it's not even a case of like, well, he had a rough start of the season, but now like the last 7 games, the last 2 weeks, he's really been hot. I mean, even the last 2 weeks, he's still been well under 200 there. So I just don't know how far the Yankees can go with that. I've covered it here as well as in the YouTube episode. The good thing is that the offense overall is doing quite well, so it's not like they're struggling for runs. So, you know what? You could almost put up with that, or you could put up with Austin Wells now batting like 208, So it's not glaring that the Yankees need offense. It's going to come a point or a moment where the Yankees are going to have to make a decision about Peraza. I mean, just keeping him up here. I mean, if you're just an automatic out, I just don't know. Especially as we get further into the season and you have to start tweaking your bullpen and adding arms, and you're like, all right, well, we only got 26 guys we keep up here. Who's the odd man out? And then you get to that situation. It's like, all right, well, who has options? Who can we move around? Who can we trade? So I just don't know how long to keep going with Peraza. And, you want to root for him. He's a homegrown guy. But for whatever reason, his game, which was more, he had a lot more power in the minors. He was like a double-digit home run type of guy. It's just for whatever reason, that really hasn't translated as he come up here. And plenty of playing time to be doing a little bit better than that. So I just don't know. Once Jazz comes back, does that mean Pablo Reyes gets the boot? Do they boot a guy out of the bullpen? So again, Jazz is going to come back eventually, and the Yankees have to make a decision. The only benefit I would say in one way is that with Cabrera out pretty much for the rest of the season, maybe that gives Peraza a bit of a reprieve because their hand wouldn't be forced. Because I think if you're choosing between Cabrera and Peraza, I think you would hold on to Cabrera on this roster more than you would Peraza. So Peraza might get again an eighth or a ninth life just because the fact that Cabrera's not around. But at a certain point, the Yankees are going to make a decision on him because just look at his game stats. He's like 0 for 2, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 2. I meant just at a certain point. I mean, if you're a major league talent, you got to be doing a little bit more than that. So I just don't know how long he has left on his leash there, and has been before he's out of options. So the Yankees can't just send him down to the minors. They're gonna have to either designate him for assignment, trade him, or just flat out just release him. So we'll see how that all works out. But again, that's just a little negative. Again, it's nitpicking a little bit. Overall, things kind of rolling with the team. Just completed a sweep of the Angels there. Yankees riding high right now. Very comfortable lead in the AL East, which I kind of went over in the latest YouTube episode as well. Really, kind of starting to separate themselves from the rest of the AL East pack, as well as right now 15 games over 500. So really riding high. And now, I guess they go down the freeway in Los Angeles down to the Dodgers there, who surprisingly, Yankees with a little bit of a better record. You wouldn't have expected that, but that's the case. And the Yankees and Dodgers will lock horns there. Just again, it's the first time since the World Series that these two, big powerhouse old top franchises go at it. So that's the episode. Yankees still rolling right along right now. They're playing some of their best baseball. They're winning series. They're getting a sweep. So things rolling for right now. So this is, if you're going to face the Dodgers, the Yankees right now looks like they're clicking on all cylinders. This is the time you want to, face them. And if you could go there and make some noise in LA and you come back home there, you're really feeling good about yourselves there. So we'll see how it all goes. And of course, again, Jazz, they say it's going to be about a week or so. They want him playing, getting the reps there at third base. And then once he comes back, you're probably looking at him as your third baseman and DJ staying at second. And they'll roll with that for a while and see how it all goes. Catch you next time.